Salutations guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit ambitious. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use every single lance in Rampant. Each of these lances are pretty unique from each other, and I'm quite excited to do this, so let's just dive right in. So starting with the Academia Lance, Mecha Academia Lance, sorry. It's a starter lance everyone has. It's pretty solid. It's not anything super insane. It's very good for learning the game. It teaches you how to play around your win condition. For this lance in particular, your win condition is to hit all your abilities in a short combo. If you can do that without being interrupted, you'll win the fight. So let's go for its abilities. Each weapon has a passive, so for this lance, its passive is the Mecha Reload. Killing enemies resets all skill cooldowns, which is really helpful if you're in like the team fights. You can kind of go from person to person, getting multi-kills. You can use all your abilities as one person, dash to the next person, and all your cooldowns will be ready to go. In 1v1s, it's not very useful at all. So for 1v1s, you basically don't have a passive, which is okay. It's still strong. Your first ability is the Mecha Cyclone. So you spin your lance, and it does a ton of damage. It hits multiple times. That's about it. There's nothing super special about it. Your second ability is a spin. So this spin will stun them and does a chunk of damage. So this is nice. You'll typically want to just stun and then use your spin. This is like your bread and butter combo. So stun, spin, and yeah, that's basic stuff. Your third ability is just a projectile you throw out. There's nothing super special about it. The projectile is relatively quick. So this is what you're going to be using before the fight starts. So you'll throw this out, you stun, you can dash up to them, stun, spin, and they're dead. Do not underestimate the amount of damage this lance does. It's actually quite insane. Your last ability is a buff that you give to yourself. This buff gives you extra damage, extra attack speed, and cooldown reduction. So basically, when you pop this ability, good things happen. So typically, let's say around just started, right? I'm gonna use my third ability to poke just for free damage. After that, I'm gonna use my R, Q, spin. They're dead. You hit all your abilities, they're gone. A good way of dealing extra damage is to swing between your abilities. So when you swing, you see how there's like a little, it takes a little bit of time for you to reset between attacks. If you use an ability during that time, you can actually cancel the animation. So it's basically like free damage. So you could do that, and it's free damage for you to do. So the full combo will look something like this. And you can see they die before I even, on like the first tick of the left shift when you're basic attacking between your abilities. So this lance is quite nasty. Let me get this guy off me. But yeah, that's about it for this lance. It's really simple. If you want to get into lances, this is a perfect one. I'm really happy they made the starter lance. Pretty simple, but also really effective. It's really good in team fights, and it's also really good in or group fights, I should say. And it's also pretty strong on the 1v1. I would highly recommend it. Next up, we have the Astral Monument Lance. This lance is very unique, to say the very least. It's a very high risk, high reward type of weapon. As you get low on HP, your attack speed will increase to insane numbers, which allows you to output some of the highest DPS a weapon can offer. This lance will require some risk taking due to the nature of its abilities, but with practice, you can lower the initial high risk of this weapon as you're just collecting on the high rewards that this weapon provides. So I could probably just show you better than I can explain it. So the passive of this weapon is super simple. Basically, as you deal damage to the enemy, they deal less damage to you. So that's it. They just deal less damage to you when you're attacking them, which is really nice. Allows you to stay into the fight longer. So you're already putting them at a damage disadvantage when they're fighting you head to head. Now moving on to the first ability, we have Meteor Strike. It's just a dash. That's it. You dash, they take damage, and yeah, that's it. It's on a pretty low cooldown, 5 seconds, which is really nice. You can use this to engage. When you'll be using your other abilities and stuff. And by the time you're done using your other abilities, this should be back up. So you'll get a second one, which is really nice. Yeah, people will have a hard time running away from you when you're dashing every 5 seconds. It also does 30 damage, which is a pretty good chunk of damage. Your second ability is Breakthrough. You cleanse yourself when you initially pop this ability. If you're stunned, it will get rid of the stun. So if you get parried or someone stuns you, pop this ability and you'll be free again. This is the ability that will also increase your attack speed based off your missing HP. So if I get the bot to attack me here, I can kind of show you guys how insane the attack speed is. So yeah, the attack speed is absolutely ridiculous, and it can even go faster if you got even lower. There's not a cap, so at 1 HP, like, I don't even want to imagine how fast you attack. It's absolutely insane that the amount of damage this ability can indirectly provide you. Your third ability is Astral Impale. So basically you thrust your lance forward and you'll knock them back and stun them. Yeah, and you'll knock them back pretty far. So you knock them back and they're stunned for a second. You're gonna want to combine this ability with your first ability. So stun, and then you're gonna want to dash up. And your dash should, the dash range is perfectly calculated for, or it's perfectly designed for your third ability. So you'll always hit them with your dash, which is really nice. So you're always going to want to combine these two abilities. If your first ability is not up, I would not recommend using this move as a quick remedy for the potential issue of you knocking them out of your range. You could try to knock them into a wall and try to attack them like that. That's the only other solution other than just dashing to them. Because if you try to, if you knock them away, you need to walk up, and then, their stun is over by the time you get over to them. So you never want to use this ability by itself unless you're it's the final blow or something. Lastly, we have the R, which is just your fourth ability, which is the spin. It's very similar to the first lance, where you just spin, it does damage. It's also on a very low cooldown, which is very nice. You just want to use this ability whenever you get the chance. So what would this lance look like in game? Right. So let's say the round starts. Me and the guy are walking towards each other. I'm gonna dash towards him, swing, use my R, and then I'm just gonna swing on him. So as I get low on HP, I'm gonna use my E. So I'm gonna use the E to knock him away, which will also stun them. And then I'm gonna dash up again with my with my dash. And I'm gonna use Breakthrough. So during the time that they're stunned, you can get 1 billion attacks off. The stun duration isn't anything super insane, but when your attack speed is probably the highest attack speed in the whole game, that starts to matter less and less. So I'll try to demonstrate it again with this guy. So he's going in. I'm getting low on HP. I'm like, okay, crap, I'm about to die. Bam, he's just gone. One shot. And that's how powerful that attack speed is. So using this weapon can be a little bit scary when you're win condition, or when you're at 20 HP, that's when you're strongest, right? And playing around that can be really scary. But with practice and a little bit of bravery, you can take advantage of the insane attack speed that this weapon can give you, and you can win rounds from it. People will not be expecting you to absolutely go in on you. The last thing I'll leave you guys with is a little trick. So people, when you're low on HP, generally speaking, people will get greedy. They'll try to attack you because they're like, oh, this guy has 20 HP. You know, I'm gonna try to kill him. But don't forget that you have a parry. The parry, if you hit it, is a free stun. And as we saw, even just like a 1 or 2 second stun is enough to deal like a ton of damage. To absolutely like one-shot someone when you're low HP. So if you find yourself low HP and your second ability's up, look for a parry. And if you would get a parry, that can honestly just win you the round right then and there. Not even counting your other abilities. So keep that in mind. Moving on to the next lance, we have the Abyssal Requiem Lance. This lance does one thing extremely well. It has one combo that it does, and it one-shots. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this thing just straight up one-shots. Then this is the one thing it does. It doesn't do anything else. So, talking about his abilities, which you guys will understand a lot better once I start getting into them. So, Tidal Assault. You will deal more damage for the first 3 seconds of combat, which is really helpful. So, this is typically when you're gonna kill them as well. So, you're gonna want to kill them within that 3 seconds of time. A little tip for you guys is if you look on the left side of the screen, you can see that how long if your passive's active or not. So you can kind of use that to judge you know, if you're dealing more damage or not. You can also look at the bottom, and that tells you when you're out of combat. That's what that number represents, I'm pretty sure. So you have to wait 5 seconds. You can't attack. Well, you can't hit the enemy for 5 seconds. And that represents, you know, if you're in or out of combat. And if you get hit, the timer resets, as you can see. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're playing this class, because you're gonna want to always go in when your passive is online. If your passive, well, if your passive's down, you're at a major disadvantage. You're gonna want to back off. So for your first ability, you prepare to throw your lance. It's a charge up, and it's a projectile. The projectile slows when it hits, which is really nice. So this is what you're gonna start your fights with, and where you're gonna start rounds with. The second ability is a 2-hit ability. So the first swing does a good chunk of damage, and the second swing does damage and stuns, which is really nice. So you typically throw your spear, they're slowed. You hit them with the first one, hit them with the second, which does good damage. Moving on to the third ability, you jump up and then you slam down. If they're stunned and you hit them with this ability, it does bonus damage. So if you guys are connecting the dots, you can see how this will probably look, right? Your combo's 1, 2, 3, literally. So you'll slow them, you'll use your 2, you'll hit them twice while they're stunned, you slam, and that will probably kill them within itself. If you can, make sure to basic attack between your attacks, which it's a little bit more difficult to do that. But after you get done, you know, using all your abilities, like they'll probably be dead. In case they are not dead, that's what your fourth ability is for, Sanctuary. You exit combat. So if you look at the number, you immediately just leave combat, right? It resets that, which is really nice. And during this ability, you can't deal damage, but you also can't take damage. You're completely invulnerable, which is really nice. So you can use this as an escape. If your abilities are up and you need to reset your combat fast, you can actually pop the ability, and then you can press it again to end it early, which your enemies may not expect. So you're gonna try to go in, you're gonna try to one-shot them, right? So you wanna bonk them. Maybe I missed or something, right? And it's like, oh crap, like, I need to get out. And you just run. And then by the time you're done running, your abilities are back up again. So you're like, alright, I'm ready to one-shot you now. Bop. And this is all this lance does. You 1, 2, 3, and then you 4 out if you need to, and then you 1, 2, 3 again, and that's it. You just keep doing that until they're dead. Your first ability is on a very low cooldown, so you can use this to potentially poke at them, just for free damage. But the projectile isn't super fast, so they're likely to dodge it. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is that you can actually cast your first ability early, like that, but it won't send the projectile out. It'll only damage them if they're in front of you. It'll still slow them and everything, which is nice. So if you want, you can even do something like this for a one-shot combo. Last but definitely not least is the Oblivion Lance. This lance is extremely complicated, but it will work out in your favor once you learn all of its tricks. This weapon has the most insane stuns I've seen so far, in addition to damage and healing. With practice, this weapon can easily be one of the strongest in Rampant, and I will do my best to explain its abilities. Forgive me if I do a bad job, because this weapon is kind of insane. So, starting with the passive, your attacks apply Stacks of Oblivion, which is the number that appears below the enemy. So, if I equip it and we go in, right, I run up, you'll see a number below them, right? So that number interacts with your abilities in different ways, and I'll try to explain that as I go along. Your first ability is Onslaught, so ignore the text. But you dash twice, and that's at this core. That's what this ability is. Just a double dash. Each dash does a chunk of damage and also applies the stacks that I was talking about, which is nice. This ability will also consume the stacks. Wait, what? Hold on, I'm out of line. Okay, never mind. So, this ability is able to steal, not steal. It can absorb the stacks under a certain condition that I'll try to explain later on. Your second ability is Ruination, so you become invincible for a little while, right? And you charge up an attack, and then it's this big line, right, in front of you, that and it slows and applies a stack. Any damage that you do basically applies a stack. So yeah, that's basically all this ability does. Does a good chunk of damage. Your third ability is a buff that you give to yourself. So this ability, it gives you movement speed, anti-slow, and stun mitigation, which is nice. It doesn't buff your attack speed or anything like that. It's purely just for catching up. So you wanna engage with this. This is just for closing the distance only. So if the enemy is like rushing you or something, you don't need to necessarily worry about it. If you're worried about getting stunned or anything like that, this ability can be really helpful since it can kind of mitigate that a little bit. Your fourth ability is this like energy burst. So it marks the enemy and it alters your first and second ability. So remember this stacks I was talking about earlier, right? If you pop your R and you dash, which I killed him, so you couldn't really see it, but it consumes the stacks. So it disappears. Which I'm trying to... This guy's low on HP, so it's a little bit difficult. So it consumes the stacks, and each stack it consumes will heal you and does extra damage, which is really nice. So that's for the first ability. For the second ability, it stuns. It'll stun them, and the stun duration depends on how many stacks they've gotten. So if we look at the ability, right, which I didn't do a dash. it's 0.5 seconds per stack, which is really nasty. So you'll get situations where if I can get a high HP target, hopefully 200, whatever, that's good enough. So 5, 6, 7, bam. Look how long he stunned for. This is all that was time that you can get free damage, which is really nice. And the more HP they have, the more stacks that you can put on them, so they're stunned for even longer. Mind you, when you're casting your second ability, you're completely invulnerable to damage. So, what would this look like in game, right? Like, how would you start your round? So you would pop your third ability, so you can close the distance. It's free movement speed, right? You want to dash twice to them, and you just want to smack them. So you'll build up stats. Oh, this guy's 200. All right, I can demonstrate it better. I'm gonna wait for my cooldowns to come back, but you'll dash through them twice, and you just want to smack them. And you're bound to get low on HP. When you do, pop your R and then your Q, because you're completely safe while you're casting your Q. And then look how long he's stunned for. That is absolutely ridiculous. They cannot play the game during that time at all. So if you can manage to get a Q when they have like 10 stacks or something like that, you basically just instantly win the round. Because what are they gonna do? They're stunned forever. Yes, you can also get free executes, which is nice. So you just back them, and then you can just you get a free execute. But yeah, this weapon is quite complicated, but if you can learn how to use it, the rewards are definitely worth it, as this weapon is absolutely insane. But yeah, guys, that's the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool making a guide on all the lances all at once. I definitely want to do guides on the other weapons as well. There was so many, so I figured I would try out lances first, since there's only 4 of them right now. If you guys want guides on the other weapons, let me know. I would be more than happy to do them. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys were able to learn something from this. Thank you for watching.